The man was born with a strange condition. Whenever he became hungry, his eyes would turn red. What could satisfy him wasn't food, but souls. So in order to survive, every night he had to go out into the wild to kill. It was a matter of life and death for him, but it also gave him a chance to grow stronger. Every life he reaped caused his stats to rise without limit. What he didn't realize was that over time, his nightly actions couldn't stay hidden. Believing a terrifying monster had appeared, the higher-ups sent holy knights to hunt him down. And on that very night, just as Jack was about to act, he ran straight into them. He had no intention of explaining himself because the holy knight leading the group was named Herd. He looked respectable on the surface, but was actually a complete scumbag, someone who had bullied Jack more than once in the past. Until just a few days ago, Jack didn't have this kind of power, but now, things were different. Herd clearly looked down on him, and had no intention of fighting personally. Instead, he ordered his subordinates to attack first, but to Jack, their movements looked frozen in place. He figured he didn't even need a sword to deal with them, having just stolen short-range force from a monster. He decided to fight barehanded. In just a few moves, he wiped out the whole group. By the time Herd reacted, it was already too late, even though two subordinates were still by his side. The moment they saw Jack, they fled without a fight. Forced into action, Herd finally stepped forward. He shouted threats about sparing no mercy, but the calm he had earlier was completely gone. In the next instant, his heart was thrown into turmoil, because he finally saw Jack clearly. It was the same useless nobody he had always despised. But how could trash like that suddenly have this kind of power? Seeing Jack ignore him, Herd suddenly made his move, opening with his ultimate attack. It turned out all that trash talk was just to lower Jack's guard. At this distance, he was 97.5% sure he'd land the hit, but before the thought even finished, Herd realized Jack was already right in front of him. Not only had he missed, his weapon had been cut clean in half, and this was supposed to be an indestructible holy sword. Realizing he was outmatched, Herd tried to run, only to trip over his own feet the next second, but Jack had no intention of letting him go. He grabbed Herd and dragged him back up. Now the real lesson was about to begin. Recalling everything from the past, Jack finally took action. Everything Herd had done to him before was coming back double. The scene repeated again and again, and even after several trees had fallen, Jack still wasn't satisfied. When Herd begged him to stop, Jack only became more ruthless. He threw Herd into the air, then transformed his sword into a bow. Even if it was a waste, he still unleashed his ultimate move, firing straight at Herd in midair. He shot 4 arrows in total, each one carrying its own meaning. When the area finally fell silent, Herd's body had clearly shrunk. Jack had been aiming for his limbs the whole time. He'd missed on purpose, but not to spare Herd's life. The final blow, he intended to deliver himself. No amount of begging would save Herd, and after Herd died, Jack's gluttony skill activated. After absorbing Herd's power, Jack grew even stronger, and also gained the holy sword technique Herd had just used, which meant that if he wanted to, he now qualified as a holy knight himself. And more importantly, thanks to his massive stat increase, he was now able to unlock the sword's second tier. Hearing Grid's words, Jack chose to release it without hesitation. The moment it unlocked, his sword transformed into a scythe. This was the weapon's second tier. According to Grid, this scythe would one day be able to cut even concepts themselves. If only it could do that right now. Jack would love to cut away the fact that his goddess had been sent on an expedition. After all, Galia was a battlefield with no return. Although Jack had no power to oppose the decision of the higher-ups, traveling alongside Roxy was a different matter. Yes, he planned to protect his goddess from the shadows, but just as he decided to head for Galia, he found that night had already fallen. By the time he reached the second town, there were no carriages left. As he considered staying the night, he unexpectedly ran into